body from darkness, inspired hope. One generation to the next have sustained us. Jerusalem went up in flames. Despite the destruction of the temple, that they returned to a city they'd never seen.
So stones are kuda chala 2000 years.
Ages 12 and usually when
ఇక్కడ ఆర్మీ వాళ్ళది ఫోటో సెషన్ జరుగుతుంది. సో గ్రూప్ ఫొటోస్ తీస్తున్నారు ఇక్కడ వీళ్ళవి. సో నేను చెప్పిన ప్లేస్ అయితే ఇదే వెస్టర్న్ వాల్ టెర్నల్ సైట్ అనమాట. ప్రజెంట్ వెళ్తున్నాను లోపలికి. అయితే లోపలికి వెళ్ళి అక్కడ ఎలా ఉంటుంది అనేది కూడా చూపిస్తాను. సో మనకి వెస్టర్న్ వాల్కి లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్లోనే ఉంటుంది ఇది. సో దానికి టికెట్ తీసుకోవాల్సి ఉంటుంది పర్ పర్సన్. పెద్దవాళ్ళకి అయితే కనుక 30 షెకెల్ అలా ఉంటుంది కాస్ట్. చిన్న వాళ్ళకి 20 షెకెల్ ఉంటుంది. సో టికెట్ తీసుకున్నాను ఆల్రెడీ నేను 320 తీసుకున్నాను. బట్ 320కి హిబ్రూలో ఉంటుందని చెప్పేసి మళ్ళీ నేను టైం చేంజ్ చేయించుకున్నా 4 o'clockకి. ఇప్పుడు ప్రజెంట్ 4 o'clock. ప్రజెంట్ అయితే టెర్నల్ సైట్ లోపలికి ఎంటర్ అవుతున్నాను. ఓకే. I have to do myself. Okay. సో టెర్నల్ సైట్లోకి ఎంటర్ అయ్యాను, లోపలికి వచ్చాను. సో ఇక్కడ మూవీ ప్లే అవుతుంది.
The journey of the Jewish people has spanned over 4,000 years. In the time-traveling tunnel that you're about to enter, you will descend into the heart of ancient Jerusalem and follow the story of the Jewish people from the days of Abraham and Sarah to today. The art featured in the 6 excavated halls that you will pass through feature glass works with names engraved in them. Every name is a link in a chain that continues to grow, from Abraham through the generations, reaching right up to you. In each hall, the art expresses concepts that the Jewish people have embodied throughout the generations. Deeply rooted faith, values of morality and unity, hope for a better future, and a rich tradition that has been passed down from generation to generation. Hello and welcome. I'm Ftach, and I'd like to invite you on a journey. Before we get going, I'd like to go back to Shiraz in Persia, where my family, the Cohens, lived. Their surroundings influenced their foods, clothing, and melodies, but they were devoted to their Judaism and always dreamt of returning to Jerusalem. We all share a similar story, even though we're from different places. Shiraz in Persia, Marrakesh in Morocco, Vilna in Lithuania, Frankfurt in Germany, Castile in Spain, Gondar in Ethiopia, Zana in Yemen, or Berlin, or New York, or Moscow. Your great-grandparents and mine all dreamt of the day they returned to Jerusalem. One of my ancestors was a Talmudic scholar named Rabbi Aaron Cohen. One day, Rabbi Aaron and his wife, the Rani Karen, decided it was time to fulfill the age-old dream of making Aliyah to the land of Israel. They arrived in Jerusalem after a 6-month journey, carrying a prayer book and gold pans. The prayer book had been passed down to them through the generations. The pans were melted and the gold was used for the Persian synagogue Ohavei Zion in Jerusalem. Benjamin, the son of Aaron and Canaan, married Hannah and lived here during the Turkish rule. Their daughter, Batsheva, married Zion Cohen during the time of the first Aliyah. Their son, Gabriel, was my grandfather. Gabriel married my grandmother, Hazal. They both were a part of the underground struggle for Israel. Their daughter, Afra, is my mother. She married my father, Eli. My parents are part of the generation that was born with this country. A country that has fought for its right to exist from the day that it was founded. My father fought in the Six-Day War in 1967 when the paratroopers recaptured the Western Wall. My parents were both among the many who cried as the age-old dream of returning to a reunited Jerusalem was fulfilled. All the generations that came before me and all that they had gone through so that I would be privileged to be raised here in Israel were in my thoughts 32 years later as I stood here at the foot of the Western Wall with my battalion of paratroopers pledging our commitment to our people and our country. I grew up here in Israel. I had a happy childhood surrounded by people and scenery I love. Then, as an adult, studying to become an actor, I was overwhelmed with questions you've probably asked yourself as well. Who am I? What am I? Where is my place in this world? I traveled far and wide to find answers, to New York, to London, as far as Shanghai, China. I learned that there's a big world out there more fascinating than I had ever imagined. And then, I got the offer to be the blogger in the greatest journey ever told. Through it, I learned about this incredible story that really is the greatest journey ever told. The incredible journey of the Jewish nation. And I found my answers. Not all, but enough to help me feel grounded, connected. I invite you to walk with me through these tunnels on a journey that is part of your history and mine. The journey through the chain of generations. Please exit the room and follow the lights down the stairway.
Okay, follow me.
చాలా ఎక్సైట్మెంట్గా ఉంది ఫస్ట్ టైం నేను ఎంటర్ అవ్వడం ఇందులోకి. సో చూడాలి లోపల ఎలా ఉంటుందనేది.
Abraham and Sarah were the first link in the chain. Their son Isaac, his wife Rebekah, their son Jacob and his wives Leah and Rachel followed. These are the forefathers and mothers of the Hebrew nation and the 12 tribes of Israel. In the ancient world, where idol worship and human sacrifice were the way of the land, Abraham and Sarah dared to challenge society's norms. Following their faith, they forged a new path. Belief in one God, a compassionate and all-loving deity who commands kindness and charity. created a new reality for themselves, their children, and the generations that followed. Just like Abraham and Sarah, I too set out on my own personal voyage. I wasn't really looking for my roots. I thought that would slow me down, keep me from soaring. I always thought that I was missing out on what was interesting and exciting someplace else. I can identify exactly when I realized that I wasn't actually missing out, that I was a part of a family right here. When young adults come to Israel on birthright, young Israelis join their tour, and I represented the paratroopers on such a tour. At the end of the program, all participants gathered together for the final event. There were Jews there from different countries, a mosaic of languages, cultures, and nationalities. And then we all sang together the song Am Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. It was magical, overwhelming. I remember feeling that all the voices around me belonged to my brothers and sisters, and then clicked. I understood that we are all one family, from the same parents, Abraham and Sarah. We may come from all over the world, but here we are, right now, in this room, together. Let's continue by following the light into the next hall to discover the values that carried us throughout our journey.
ఇక్కడే మనకి ఇప్పుడు దాకా ప్లే చేశారు. సో నెక్స్ట్ రూమ్కి వెళ్తున్నాం ఇక్కడ నుంచి.
Jacob and his family, the first Hebrew family, went down to Egypt. Then Moses, Aaron, and Miriam led us on our path back up to the Promised Land. In the centuries that followed, the descendants of Abraham and Sarah went through countless trials, events, and tribulations. The exodus from Egypt, with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, God led the Jews from slavery to freedom. The gathering at Mount Sinai, where Moses and the Jewish people received the Torah. The division of the people into 12 tribes and the settlement of the land of Israel, and the building of Jerusalem and the temple, the center of Jewish life in ancient Israel. From a single family, we became a people, a land with Jerusalem at its heart. The 70 names of Jerusalem are written on the center pillar in front of you, and the 6 arms extending from the menorah center are etched with the names of kings and queens, high priests, judges, and prophetesses, all links in the chain: David and Solomon, Jeremiah and Isaiah, Deborah, Hannah, and Phinehas. These seminal figures instilled in us fundamental Jewish values. Shabbat, the day of rest, justice and righteousness, humility and charity, respect for all humankind, honoring parents and elders, and loving your neighbor. These values have inspired people all over the world and have propelled the Jewish people towards our mission of repairing the world, Tikkun Olam. I never really knew about Tikkun Olam. I mean, I knew of the 10 Commandments, but I never connected the values my forefathers gave the world with what they meant for me. It's hard to describe the feeling when I finally connect the dots. Standing right outside, touching the ancient stones of the Western Wall, I suddenly realized that I am a part of this bigger story. I have inherited these core values, and they are mine to uphold. Think about it. Those same tablets with the 10 Commandments carved into them on Mount Sinai 3,000 years ago were kept just a few hundred feet from where we are standing now. How incredible is that? And when we walk the alleys of Jerusalem,
We are stepping on those same cobblestones that Jeremiah and Isaiah walked on, as they shared an ethical code of moral values that make the world a better place. The same place where King David sang his songs. How good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity.
We've talked about our faith and our values. Now, let's continue on to the home. Darkness overshadowed the next phase of the journey. Jerusalem went up in flames, and the Jewish people of ancient Israel were exiled. Usually when a nation is cut off from its historical homeland, its people and culture disappear from the pages of history. The pillars of the nation are broken, the glass is shattered. But this was not the fate of the Jewish people. Despite the destruction of the temple, they found new hope, rose from the ashes, and laid the foundation for a lengthy exile. Names of Jewish leaders are etched in the fragments before you. The fighters at Masada, the 10 martyrs, Queen Esther, individuals who in times of darkness inspired hope in an exiled nation, strengthening their commitment to Jewish identity and preserving their longing to return to the land of Israel.
We all face obstacles, but that hope that things will turn out well gives us the strength to persevere. We look into the future with that same hope our ancestors had when the Romans destroyed Judea, erasing the very name from the map and forbidding Jews to ever return. Those Jews coined the phrase that is a pure expression of hope, a phrase that I first heard as a child at my grandfather's Passover Seder, a phrase that rang throughout the generations in exile. L'shana haba'ah beYerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem. Next year in the Holy Land. Right after the destruction of Jerusalem, it was a prayer full of hope sung by those who knew Jerusalem in its glory. But as years turned to decades, decades to centuries, and centuries to thousands of years, that prayer of hope became a vow, sung by people promising themselves that they'd return to a city they'd never seen. Next year in Jerusalem. That is resilience. That is hope. Confidence that the journey would have a happy ending. That we would finally return to where we are standing right now, in Jerusalem.
The journey continues. To faith, values, and hope, we add tradition, the wisdom of ages etched in our memories that helps shape our identity. Please watch your step. The passage is narrow. Beneath us are stairs from the first temple era, a mikveh, ritual bath, from the Hasmonean era, a Herodian wall from the second temple era, and a Roman bathhouse. The pillar of tradition rises high from within these ruins and reflects deep into their foundations. Engraved on this pillar are the names of the sages of the Mishnah and the Talmud, and their commentators. The torchbearers ensuring that our tradition is passed on to the next generation, all links in the chain. Our customs and rituals, passed from one generation to the next,
have sustained us. Wherever Jews were in the world, our tradition kept us connected to our chain of generations. The Shabbat candles brought light to every dark corner and warmth to every heart. We celebrated the holidays, sitting in huts in Sukkot and around the Seder table on Passover. On Purim and Hanukkah, we celebrated the many miracles and wonders that saved us. We marked bar and bat mitzvahs, got married under a chuppah, breaking a glass to remind us of Jerusalem's destruction, even at the peak of our joy. We learned and prayed in Hebrew, keeping the language of our ancestors alive, even when we spoke the language of the country we lived in. We held on to our customs and traditions, even as we integrated or adapted to our environment. Our Jewish identity remains strong, burning within us. And the common thread that ran through every tradition and custom has always been the longing for Zion, a battle cry etched into our hearts and carried from one generation to the next. If I forget you, Jerusalem, let my right hand be forgotten.
The traditions, the holidays, the rituals, and the melodies carry our collective memory of who we are and where we're from. My grandmother used to sing those same hymns to my mother, and my mother, in turn, sang them to me just as I hope one day to sing them to my own children. Another link in the chain, a chain of melody.
We will continue our journey up the stairs.
సో స్టెప్స్ ఎక్కి పైకి వెళ్తున్నాం. సో స్టోన్స్ అన్నీ కూడా చాలా 2000 years బ్యాక్ స్టోన్స్ కదా ఇవి.
Nations tried to extinguish the flame of the Jewish people, but failed. The Nazis resorted to the ultimate evil, systematic genocide, the mass extermination of the Jews. 6 fractures, 6 million links cut off from the Jewish people. Engraved on these fragments are the names of children who were murdered, together with their grandparents. Moshe Yaakov, age 6, grandson of Moshe Yaakov, Belzach extermination camp. Zelda Shidzinski, age 6, and her grandmother, Rachel, Auschwitz-Birkenau extermination camp. Binyamin and Shira Scherzer, ages 12 and 10, and their grandmother, Bluma, Majdanek concentration camp. Mikhail Ruzensky, age 16, and his grandfather Yosef, and grandmother Matilda, Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Grandfather and grandson, grandmother and granddaughter, murdered only because they were Jews. No one can grasp the terrible dimensions of the Shoah, but we must remember what happened in Auschwitz, Birkenau, and Treblinka. Even in the depths of darkness, Jews fought to preserve Judaism and their identity, clinging to their faith, values, hopes, and traditions. They were determined to survive and continue the legacy of what the Jewish people stand for. Cup your hands together, reach out, and hold the name of someone who was murdered in the Holocaust, someone who was torn away from the chain.
My family did not experience the Holocaust, but at 16, as it is customary in Israel, I went on a trip to Poland with my school and joined the March of the Living. I walked along the old railway track between Auschwitz and Birkenau, the same path many thousands of Jews were forced to walk to their deaths. I had questions, horrible feelings of dread. It was a lot to take in, to see all that and contemplate what those Jews experienced. But as I was walking in their footsteps, confidently and safely wrapped in the Israeli flag, I understood that we cannot take life for granted. Those Jews who walked to their deaths became a part of me, and I became a part of them. One nation, one family, with a shared fate.
Like butterflies to the light, the Jews were drawn to the land that waited for them. Go ahead, follow the light, wildest dreams. Our agricultural achievements are famous around the world, an agriculture that flourishes with limited water resources at the desert's edge.